occupying till he comes at Southwest Prophecy Ministries.
Thank you, David. Today, Dr. David Schnitker and Carol Rushton conclude two broadcasts with L.A. Marzulli on his new book and DVD titled Days of Chaos. Brother Marzulli is an author and much sought-after speaker. As you'll hear today, he believes predictions of ancient biblical text are happening right now. Let's join Dr. Schnitker and L.A. Marzulli as they discuss the days of chaos.
It is a real honor and privilege to have L.A. Marzulli back on the broadcast today to discuss his latest book and DVD entitled Days of Chaos. I'm joined on the broadcast again today by Carol Rushton, who is our Vice President of Social Media. I was privileged to do some broadcasts with L.A. when I was at Southwest Radio Church, and I'm excited about the opportunity to continue interviewing L.A. regarding his latest project. This book and DVD literally make end-time prophecies come alive before our very eyes. The Apostle Paul predicted that in the last days perilous times shall come. This word perilous can be translated insane. This book and DVD deal with some of the insanity in our world today. L.A., welcome back to our show.
Thanks for having me on. Appreciate it.
It's great to have you out all the way from California to be with us. For those who were not listening to our program last week, give us a little bit of a recap about your ministry, your web address, and why you were motivated to do this latest project.
Well, I'm the author of 9 books. We've also have 9 DVDs in our Watchers series. Specifically, the books deal with a lot of the UFO activity, the rise of the Nephilim, the Genesis 6 passages, prophetic passages throughout the biblical prophetic narrative. Watchers is all over the map. We talk about a variety of topics. We're working on Watchers 10, which should be released sometime in late March, maybe April. I got to tell you, Watchers 10 is the most astounding film that we've ever produced as far as content. What we will reveal from Watchers 10 will, I think, cause quite a stir. Really do. So that's a little bit about us. LA at lamarzulli.net is my email address. lamarzulli.net is the website. And of course, our new TV show, PPS Report, Politics, Prophecy, and the Supernatural Report. PPSreport.com is the new TV show.
Great to have you with us.
Thank you.
Well, L.A., as David has said before, you cover so much ground in your DVD and your book, Days of Chaos. It is impossible for us to cover all the subjects in just these short broadcasts, but we'll do our best. And I have a few questions for you, especially on natural calamities, the subject that you covered in your DVD. Jesus said that in the latter days, certain events would occur that would cause men's heart to fail them for fear. And in Matthew 24, Jesus named some of these events: a dramatic increase of famines, pestilences, earthquakes, signs in the heavens, and drastic geopolitical changes around the world. I think our audience would be very interested to hear what you found in your research about these issues and how it relates to the fulfillment of Bible prophecy today.
We could spend the rest of this show just talking about or having me answer that question.
Probably so.
Yeah, I mean, it's a very loaded question. Yeshua warns us, and people say, well, I don't want to hear this stuff. Well, then you don't want to hear the gospel. You don't want to hear the good news. Because at the end of that, he says, when you see these things begin to happen, look up, because your redemption, I'm coming back, I'm returning for you. Because we are in the midst, and I call it a cosmic regime change. We are literally in the midst right now, 2016, in the midst of a cosmic regime change. The God of this world, Satan, Hasatan, is being pushed out. But before he gets pushed out, it's his last stand. He knows his time is short. He's gearing up, ramping up for his man to take the throne in Israel, to cut himself, pour his blood on the altar and declare himself to be God, i.e. the Antichrist. Is he alive on the planet? I would assume he is, just by what I see. But Yeshua gives us this punch list to look for, wars and rumors of wars. But before that, he says this: many will come in my name saying, I am the Messiah, I am the Christ, the Anointed One. That in itself is an absurd statement for him to make. Who does this guy think he is? And you remember, it's hard, we read this stuff now in our churches, and we're all sitting there, and there's crosses everywhere, and the choir's just sung. We got our Bibles in front of us, and we read the scripture, and we fail to realize the context in which the scripture was given. And the context is this: there is no church. There's nothing. There's no monks with funny haircuts or popes through stained glass windows or candles or rosary beads or nuns walking around. There's nothing. No Billy Grahams. There's nothing. There's one itinerant rabbi, Yeshua, with basically the 12 stooges. And I'm being nice here when I say that. The Sons of Thunder, are you kidding me? These guys were like, they were, even the Pharisees, people were unlearned. I mean, Galilee, can anything go, right? That's who he's dealing with. Basically, he eats with the tax collectors, and he says something which is totally astounding and absurd. Many will come in my name. And if you're sitting there going, who's this guy think he is? What is he talking about? This is what's chilling. Here today, right in the present day, in modernity, there are men on this planet who are claiming to be the second coming of Messiah. I show clips of this. There's one guy in Russia. He's called the Russian Messiah. He's got the long brown hair. He's got the beard. He's got the robes. Thousands of people are part of this cult. They all have costumes, of course. And just Google Russian Messiah. Watch what comes up. 2016, Russian Messiah. This guy, he walks through the crowd with the goofy little demonic smile, like the Pope does in the Pope-mobile, not equating the Pope with demonic smile, but the Pope's always waving his hands and nodding at the crowd. The Pope's got nothing. He's a sinner, just like the rest of us. He's not the vicar of anything. I respect the man greatly, but he's just a sinner saved by grace. He's got nothing. Where are the miracles? There are no miracles. So, right? I mean, just like he can pray for someone, I can pray for someone. It's right. It's all going to the throne room. He doesn't have a special red phone in his office. Is he there? Can I speak to him? Nothing like that. In fact, sometimes I think they're even further away, but I digress. The bottom line is this, that something is going on this planet. Something is going on. And when we read, we hear about many will come in my name, that's just the first criteria that Jesus gives that will signal the end. And then he goes into wars and rumors of wars, check. Trying to get back on track here. Famines, check. Pestilence, the Zika virus now. That's got everybody all freaked out. I mean, what the heck is that about? Look, earthquakes in diverse places. You guys live here in Oklahoma City, right? Oklahoma is now the capital of earthquakes on the planet. Last year, over 700 earthquakes. Normally 2, that's what you should have. You have 700. And in the first month of the year, I think you already had 70. I mean, it's wacky. So, and I think this is a prophetic bone that Jesus throws us here. What I mean by that, people always say, there's no humor in the Bible. Quit laughing. Nonsense. There's humor all through it. And Jesus is throwing us sort of a supernatural bone here. What I mean by that, he goes, well, there's going to be earthquakes in diverse places. So, okay, that's interesting. Wait a minute. If you follow that, I live in 2,000 years ago. How am I going to know if there's an earthquake in Japan? I don't even know that Japan exists. See what I mean? Mm-hmm. So when he writes that and he tells us that, earthquakes in diverse places, yet in modernity, when the Fukushima earthquake happens, my iPhone rings and we watch the tidal wave come in because of a geopolitical or the geosynchristic satellite network. We watch it in real time. That tidal wave was filmed in real time, being beamed all around the world. So you're watching some guy screaming and yelling as he's riding a 60-foot tsunami wave. That's real time. That's what we watched it. So now my iPhone rings or pings every time there's a 6.0 and greater. So earthquakes in diverse places, check. Everything that Yeshua tells us will precede his coming is happening to the nines. And we are in a window of time which, unless the Messiah returns soon, there may not be anything human to return to. And I mean that.
Well, that's so interesting. And you're right. We could just spend the rest of the program on just that topic. Moving on, you talk about, you interview Bill Salas in the DVD. And now Bill Salas believes that Psalm 83 prophesies a future war in which nations surrounding Israel will form an alliance, and they will invade Israel and try to destroy Israel and all the Jews. How do you believe the war of Psalm 83 may fit into end times Bible prophecy, and would ISIS have any role in such a war?
Well, it's a very complex mix, isn't it? And it's changing. And this is why I watch it like a hawk. I mean, did anyone see the Arab Spring coming? No one saw the Arab Spring coming. And the Arab Spring has changed the political landscape of the Middle East forever. No one saw the rise of the Muslim Brotherhood in Egypt, which had been suppressed under Hosni Mubarak for 30 years. Yet here it comes in all of its glory, only to be put down again. And now Morsi has been condemned to a death sentence, trying to establish Sharia law. What are we looking at in the Middle East? we're looking at ideology that if Americans really knew and saw pictures, and there's film, but the news media never shows it, so the American people remain ignorant and basically blinded as to the ideology which permeates the Middle East, and that is a vitriolic hatred of the Jews, vitriolic, so much so that not even 1 grain of sand will they allow the Jews to possess. The only solution is not a 2-state solution, it's a 1-state solution. And that means every Jew leaves the promised land. And that's not going to happen because Amos tells me, Amos 9, I think it is, that once he regathers them, they will never again be moved from their land. Now that's a promise. And of course, Hasatan, Satan knows that and would love nothing more than to somehow pry the Jews out of Israel. Ain't going to happen. In fact, what's interesting is in 2016, there are Torah codes that the rabbis are looking into, talking about Messiah. There was an NDE, and I realized that's very controversial. Near-death experience. A Jewish boy goes up, and he's in heaven, and he meets, the Messiah. And he talks about, and you can't make this stuff up. He said that when Messiah would come to Israel, his feet would land on the Mount of Olives, and that thing would split. Where's he getting that from? We know where he's getting it from, but this guy's raised in a Jewish home. He's never read the book of Revelation. He has no idea what he just saw. What he just saw was future and literal. That baby is going to split in half. That's not allegory. That's going to happen. The Messiah will return. So there's a buzz in Jewish communities in Israel at the present moment. They're awaiting Messiah. They're thinking maybe this is the year. So we'll see.
Well, David, I think that you have some more questions for Ellie.
Yeah, one of the most interesting interviews that you conduct in this DVD was with a Native American. And this gentleman had some interesting prophecies that come out of the Native American prophecies that really seem to have a correspondence to biblical prophecy. Could you share some things about that interview?
I'd love to. Chief Joseph Riverwind is a Taino war chief, and his wife, lovely wife, Dr. Laura Lynn Riverwind. They basically, minister together. And Chief Joseph has written the book. We carry it in our bookstore. That's what the old ones say. It's a fascinating book because what he's done is he's taken the stories which were handed down generation after generation after generation, going back literally thousands of years. Oral tradition, oral stories. And what people don't understand is that Native American culture, when the tribes were together, someone would be raised from very early childhood to listen to the stories and memorize these stories. They would be chosen to do this. And of course, they would have that gift of being able to memorize. And that's how the cultures, just like in Roots, Alex Haley's groundbreaking series Roots, Kunta Kinte went off into the woods to make a drum and was never heard. That was part of the oral tradition. So when Alex Haley is in that tribe and he hears it, there's his great-great-great-grandfather, Kunta Kinte, went into the village. There it is, thousands of miles. It gives me goosebumps even now talking about it. The oral tradition has veracity. And so Chief Joseph was telling us some of these stories that were passed down in different tribes over literally centuries to the total of, thousands of years, which is incredible. And he talks about the days of fire. Not a pleasant subject, but that's what's coming. His people know it. And that's why they've chosen to tell the stories, because they believe that the days of fire are coming. Now, is that a nuclear event? We don't know. It could be. I mean, look, all I know is that America is hated by a variety of haters. They really want to destroy us. Certainly the radical jihadists want us out here. We are called the Great Satan by Iran for a reason. North Korea apparently is testing missiles. They just launched a satellite. They've got a hydrogen bomb. That spells EMP to me, electromagnetic pulse weapon, which is a day of fire. What I mean by that, everything fries. That is the classic day of fire, in my opinion. You launch an electromagnetic pulse weapon, which can just be a small nuclear device, put that on a rocket, go up 200 miles in the atmosphere, which is exactly what the North Koreans claim they just did over Super Bowl weekend. And you detonate that thing, that creates a shock wave, an electromagnetic pulse, which short circuits telephones, radios, cars, everything. The world, in other words, our world as we know it shuts down, and it doesn't reboot 24 hours later. It's gone. Millions would die in the first week. Millions. If it happens in the winter, many millions will die in the first week. We're not prepared for this. Most people have a week's worth of food at the house. What happens if that's gone?
And as you mentioned in your film, the electric grid in the United States is now interconnected. So if one part goes down, the whole thing
thing goes
collapses. Right. It's very vulnerable.
Very vulnerable. And there was a bill in front of Congress a number of years ago to beef up the infrastructure to work on the grid, and they voted it down. I mean, but we'll allow 300,000 refugees into the country, and we won't take care of our own blood and treasure, our own refugees, our own service people, which are coming in from Afghanistan or war zones like Iraq and are shell-shocked and desperately need help. The suicide rate is through the roof, and ISIS jokes at it and pokes fun of us. And they're right. We're not taking care of our own. So why would the Obama administration, I digress here, why would the Obama administration insist on bringing in 300,000 refugees? And by the way, last time I counted, I think it's less than 1% Christian. And those are the ones that are being killed over there. The Christian refugees are being killed because of their belief system. No, they can't come in, but we'll let all these other people come in. And how do we know who's who? We don't know who's who. It's going to change the very political fabric of our country. And this is why Trump, and I know we're in election year, and I got to get serious here. This is why Trump is resonating with the voters. He's saying, wait a minute, why don't we just stop for a minute and take a deep breath and figure this thing out? Oh, that's Islamic phobic. Oh, you're a racist. No, you're not. Yeah. No, you're not. You're being smart. Right. But this administration that we're under with Obama.
It's an interesting aside. We're getting political here. Yeah. But there was a president not so very long ago that called a halt to Iranian immigration. His name was Jimmy Carter.
Thank you.
During the Iranian hostage crisis, he says, no more Iranians until we get this thing settled.
Right.
And I don't hear people excoriating him.
Oh, of course not.
For that.
Oh, you can't do that, please.
Right. Yeah. Well, let's talk about UFOs, Carol.
Oh, no.
Oh, yes. Well, LA, my dad, Noah Hutchings, from Southwest Radio, talked many times about seeing a set of UFOs one day coming home from school in the 1930s. And I know my dad, I know he would not lie about something like that. He never forgot that. Now, you have done a lot of research on the subject, and you include some amazing footage of what looks like some alien beings in your Days of Chaos DVD. Now, Gary Stearman of Prophecy Watchers in the DVD gives his opinion of who he thinks these beings could be or who might be behind them. What is your opinion?
What? How are you spinning Gary's take?
I'm not spinning anything.
All right.
I just, he kind of, to me, he thinks, I got the impression he thinks that it's demonic.
No, it is, absolutely. Gary and I, we've spent hours talking about this subject. It's very complex. We're not sure how it all works, but we believe that these intruders are, in fact, the fallen angels. UFOs are real, burgeoning, and not going away. The former Canadian Secretary of Defense, Paul Hellyer, came on the record and stated openly, and this is incredible, this isn't some little petty official, this is the Secretary of Defense of the Canadian government, who stated UFOs are as real as the airplanes flying overhead. What are we to make of that? And what people don't understand, and we could spend hours, literally hours, and doing shows on this thing, because this is the phenomenon which I believe will cause the great falling away that we read about in 2 Thessalonians. And I believe that that is not the rapture. That is, in fact, an apostasy. The word is apostasy. The son of perdition, the Antichrist, will not be revealed until the apostasy. It's an event. So what that begs the question, what would cause millions of Christians to lose their faith? One event. You have mile-wide motherships, and there are mile-wide motherships. People have seen them. It's documented. It's on the record. And hundreds of scout ships flying all over the planet in broad daylight, mile-wide ships just parking there. Everybody's paradigm has changed. And guess who will control the dialogue? Of course, the media will control the dialogue, and the officials that will get up and we've always known about them. Now it's time to reveal the so-called extraterrestrial presence, and we want to. They are here to usher us into time of peace, prosperity, and a new age, golden age of mankind. Oh, and by the way, they've got it. They are our progenitors. They created all life on this planet, started the world's religions. Now at this critical juncture, they're back. And they've got this little implantable chip that they want to give to everyone, which is actually a DNA upgrade. That's where it's going. And I've talked about this incessantly, written about it. And, people don't want to hear it. It's doom and gloom. Oh, come on. Marzulli's talking about aliens again. Oh, what does this have to do with Jesus? It has everything to do with Jesus, because these are the signs that he warns us. And that's how we started this program, that will herald his return. Men faint from fear from what is coming upon the earth. What's that? Big asteroid, Planet X, a mile-wide mothership, everything combined. And that's why we talk about it.
By the way, I've heard that the latest, or perhaps one of the more common views on evolution today is the view of panspermia.
Yeah, panspermia. Yeah.
Right. So they've deserted the old Darwinism that's been so thoroughly discredited. Now they've come up with something even more fabled and fantastic.
Well, it's not so fabled, and I'll tell you why. Richard Dawkins sits down with Ben Stein, and Ben Stein sits, and I quote this all the time, if you haven't seen the movie Expelled, go out and see it. How did we get here? What started the first self-replicating molecule? Dawkins has no answer, and Stein throws him a lifeline. Well, how do you think it happened? And Dawkins goes, well, it could have happened this way. And he goes into a whole soliloquy and basically states that, well, a race of extraterrestrials that somehow would have risen to a high state of civilization through some sort of Darwinian process, created life on their planet and seeded it through the galaxy. And here it is. It fell to Earth. Conditions were right. Boom, here we are. That's panspermia. That's what they believe. It's being promulgated like crazy. It's a complete offense to the Christian worldview, which states in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was God. He was with God at the beginning. All things were made through him, and nothing that was not made without him, period. Now, which one are we going to believe? The biblical prophetic narrative, which has prophecy after prophecy after prophecy fulfilled, not only in antiquity, but some of it certainly in modernity. Israel coming back in the homeland is a cogent example of that. Or do we believe the rantings of the panspermists like Richard Dawkins, when he's just making this stuff up? He has no clue, but it's convenient because it doesn't point to the supernatural. And the Darwinists cannot have the supernatural, because then, miracles, God, sin. We don't want to get into that, do we?
Right.
Do I need a redeemer? Yeah, you do. I do. And that's why there is a redeemer.
Right.
Jesus, God's own son.
Well, we're almost out of time here. Really quick, we know that we have to have a temple on the Temple Mount. And the Jews are now becoming very, very excited. They're really looking forward to this. They think it's going to be soon, and they're looking for the coming of the Messiah. But still, there is no Jewish temple on the Temple Mount in Jerusalem right now. Now, in the DVD, you talked about something that I don't think anybody really knows anything about, and that's the Copper Scrolls. How can you briefly tell our audience what the Copper Scrolls may have to do with the rebuilding of the temple on the Temple Mount? Well,
you're talking about the scrolls that were found within the Dead Sea Scrolls decades ago now. Typically the scholars took them and hid them away, and no one could look at these things. But I digress. The bottom line, the Copper Scroll talks about where the ashes of the red heifer are, where the incense is. All these different articles that apparently were taken out of the temple and moved someplace else before. Remember, this goes back into AD 70, where Titus is coming down and laying siege. There are tunnels. We know of one tunnel which goes literally, and I'm not making this up, from the old city, from underneath the Temple Mount, literally to the old city to Qumran. That's like 26 miles.
That's amazing. I've been to Qumran. It is, 26 miles. It's a long way from Jerusalem.
There's a tunnel which goes, and the entrance, the Qumran entrance, has been sealed off. And people have looked at this and are wondering, did Jeremiah take the ark? What happened to the ark? No one knows where it is. And here, I'll just throw a monkey wrench in this whole thing. Interestingly enough, we know that the Knights Templar came into Jerusalem and basically did primitive archaeological digs about 1,000 years ago. And they were there for about 200 years. So what did they find? Did they take it back? And that gets into the whole mystery of the Knights Templar, Rosslyn Chapel, and then Oak Island, which is one of my favorite TV shows on the History Channel right now. And I've been fascinated with Oak Island since I was a kid and first read about it when I was 13 years old.
I think in your DVD you say something about the possibility of the Ark of the Covenant possibly being under the Temple Mount.
Under the Temple Mount. There's a lot of candidates to it. I'm favoring that it was that the Templars got it. And see, if it's over there and they reveal it, it's World War III. If it's over here, if it's on Oak Island and they find it, and you remember Oak Island is sealed, whatever the vault is, and they went down every 10 feet. There was a logs with like matting and coconut. Where did that come from? What are these? And it was so whoever did this on Oak Island, the engineering is incredible because it lets in water from 3 different places and floods the tunnel. It's booby trapped. Why would they booby trap it? What's down there that they're booby trapping it like that? And so many people believe, I do, that something of great value is down there. And this goes back into the Knights Templar, into the Rosicrucians, into Rosslyn Chapel. It's very occult, but could it be that they actually have the Ark of the Covenant and they whisked it away and buried it there in the new land where no one knew about it? No, I mean, that was, you go back 600-700 years, no one knew about it. It was pre-Columbian.
Well, it's amazing speculation. I
And
guess
it is speculation.
It is at this time. At some point, we will know.
Yep.
Well, time has flown, and so must we. L.A., thanks for being on the broadcast last week and today.
Appreciate it, guys. Thank you.
It's been a pleasure. We've been talking with L.A. Marzulli about his amazing new book and DVD entitled Days of Chaos. L.A. literally holds nothing back in this presentation. This thorough book has 21 chapters, is nearly 300 pages long. The companion DVD is fast-paced, intense, shocking, and nearly 2 hours in length. You will want to have both to share with your family and friends. And now Jerry Giltner will share how you can obtain Days of Chaos.
Thanks, Brother David. Bible prophecy is being fulfilled, and L.A. Marzulli's book and DVD, Days of Chaos, point to that fact in no uncertain terms. These are tools you need in your library. They'll help you deal with the dilemma as it unfolds. To get a copy of the 110-minute DVD and 289-page companion book, contact us at Southwest Prophecy Ministries. You may call our phone number, write us, or log on to the internet to get your copy on the way to your home or office. The DVD is offered for a gift of $25, and that's the same gift amount for the book. Better yet, get both items at the same time when you make a $40 contribution to this ministry. We'll send them as our gift of appreciation for that donation. To get them, phone 1-405-604-5975. The website address is swpm.us, or write to Southwest Prophecy Ministries, P.O. Box 58043, Oklahoma City, Oklahoma 73157. As usual, L.A. Marzulli isn't timid about bringing you the truth as we see the birth pangs Jesus spoke of in Matthew 24, predicting the signs of his return. They truly are days of chaos, and we're seeing them unfold right now. Call, write, or visit the web for your copy of the book, the DVD, or both. Phone 1-405-604-5975. Web address, swpm.us, or write to Box 58043, Oklahoma City, Oklahoma 73157. We would appreciate it if you'd please tell us the station you heard today's program over. Plan now to be with us next weekend when Dr. David Schnitker and Bill Salas talk about the now prophecies as we occupy till Jesus comes.